Hey, Shalom, Yeshua in the world and everything. I'm Brother Ezekiel.
Brother Chris.
And we're here today giving another lesson. We're picking up off after last week. Yesterday. I mean, we're doing lessons back to back and everything. But anyways, today we're going to start off with the law of the Nazarite law, vow as it says, but it's still a law. So if you're going to do this, is what you need to do. And what we said yesterday was just speaking on the law of the jealousy spirit and stuff. What happens to when the wife makes the husband jealous due to her laying with somebody carnally and things like that. So basically cheating and stuff. And if this man starts feeling a certain way in his spirit, he knows something is up. He just can't put his finger on it. But anyways, that's what we were speaking of yesterday and things like that. So the next law we're getting today is going to be, we're going to start in Numbers chapter 6 and verse 1 through 21. This is one whole law for the Nazarite vow, or code, how some people would say.
All right. Numbers chapter 6, starting at verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord.
See, so it says man and a woman. So it's not just the men doing vows of a Nazarite vow and things like that. It's man or a woman. Go ahead.
He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar nor wine, or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried.
So, yeah, so, wait a second. So, yeah, grapes, or dried grapes, or wine, or any strong drinks and things like that, or vinegar. You cannot do these things when you're taking that vow, okay? So it's very, very detailed and things. There's reasons why, but go ahead, Elder.
All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled in the which he separated himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of his head grow.
So the locks of their hair. Now, some argue the fact that locks is talking about what they call the word dreadlocks. Okay? First and foremost, if you look up the word locks, it tells you of two parts or three parts of a hair twined. So that's actually a braid. Okay? So we say cornrows or whatever the case may be. But the fact of the matter is, your hair grows and things. You are not supposed to cut your hair. Now I'll say, well, this sounds like a contradiction. It says when his days be fulfilled that he should, shave off everything and stuff like that. Well, we thought it was only for the time you were supposed to shave and things if you were unclean, or there was a issue of leprosy or whatever sickness you had upon you and things. You had to shave off everything. Well, right here it's telling you you're supposed to do it. This is a vow that you're supposed to do. So those are totally different things. So it's no contradiction in there, okay? This is a specific vow. But go ahead, Elder.
All the days that he separated himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body.
So no touching, defiling himself. He can't, burying his mom, his brother, his sister, his aunts, uncles, whatever. He cannot touch any dead bodies, okay? So once again, these are not contradictions. It's just you got to understand them and read it in the context that it's speaking of. These are specific laws, okay? Yes, sir.
He shall not make himself unclean for his father or for his mother, for his brother or for his sister, when they die, because the consecration of his God is upon his head.
See? Simple, But it says this in Leviticus. It's not a but. It's telling you this is a vow of a Nazarite, okay? But go ahead.
All the days of his verse 8. In all the days of his separation, he is holy unto the Lord. And if any man die very suddenly by him, and he hath defiled the head of his consecration, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the seventh day shall he shave it.
But wait a second, it's the Shabbat. You say he's supposed to be doing these things. So it's letting you know, if you defile yourself with any of those things, then you got to shave. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 10. And on the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons to the priest, to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
So it's like a sin offering again. So 2 turtle doves, not turtles, because it doesn't say a bird. It says turtles. I need to go get me 2 snapping turtles. Come on, man. But anyways, let's keep going.
Verse 11. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and make an atonement for him, for that he sinned by the dead, and shall hallow his head that same day. Verse 12. And he shall consecrate unto the Lord the days of his separation, and shall bring a lamb of the first year for a trespass offering, but the days that were before shall be lost, because his separation was defiled. Verse 13. And this is the law of the Nazarite. When the days of his separation are fulfilled, he shall be brought unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall offer his offering unto the Lord. 1 he lamb of the first year without blemish for a burnt offering, and 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish for a sin offering. And
keep going.
And 1 ram without blemish for peace offerings.
So you have a ewe lamb, which is a female lamb, and then you have the regular firstborn male lamb and things like that. Okay, so specifically, and then that first lamb has to be in its first. I think it said first month. First. Wait, let me go back. I'm sorry. Bring in the first year. Excuse me, of their first year. So it doesn't have to be, like a huge, like it has to wait eons of years just to bring this, of its adult stage or whatever. It's after 1 year. That's the offering that this Nazarite or the Nazarite vow that you have to do to give up for a trespass or a sin offering. For the sacrifice. But go ahead. Verse 15.
Verse 15. And the basket of unleavened bread, cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, and waters of unleavened bread.
Wafers.
And fine. Okay, verse 15. And a basket of unleavened bread, cakes of fine flours mingled with oil, and wafers of unleavened bread anointed with oil, and their meat offering and their drink offerings. And the priest shall bring them before the Lord, and shall offer his sin offering and his burnt offering. And he shall offer the ram for a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord with the basket of unleavened bread. The priest shall offer also his meat offering and his drink offering. And the Nazarite shall shave the head of his separation at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall take the hair of the head of his separation and put it in the fire which is under the sacrifice of the peace offerings. And the priest shall take the sodden shoulder of the ram and 1 unleavened cake out of the bread, and 1 unleavened wafer, and shall put them upon the hands of the Nazarite, and after the hair of his separation is shaven. And the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. This is holy for the priest, with the wave breast and heave shoulder. And after that, the Nazarite may drink wine. Verse 21. This is the law of the Nazarite, who hath vowed, and of his offering unto the Lord for his separation. Beside that, this his hand shall get, according to the vow which he vowed. So he must do after the law of his separation.
So that's it on that. So that's the law of the vow of the Nazarite and things, because you have some individuals out there who, claiming to do vows of the Nazarite and not keeping it 100%. Okay, so these are a lot of different things, and that's just to get you maybe a lot closer to the Most High than regularly walking and things. But there's specific things that's going on here. Okay, so that's the law on the Nazarite vow or code, however you want to put it. We'll go to the next law, which is in Numbers chapter 8 and start at verse 23. I know I said this a billion times, but I'm pinpointing the law, so you guys could read the scripture in itself and things. That's your homework to do. Okay, so I'm just getting straight to the laws and everything.
So we're going to start at Numbers chapter 8, verse 23.
Yes, sir.
We're going to stop at
26.
Okay. Numbers 8th chapter, verse 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, This is it that belongeth unto the Levites. For 25 years old and upward they shall go in to wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And from the age of 50 years they shall cease waiting upon the service thereof, and shall serve no more, but shall minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation to keep the charge, and shall do no service. Thus shall thou do unto the Levites touching their charge.
So what it's talking about, so this is a law for the rest of the other Levites, not the sons of Aaron, not Aaron or the next high priest that gets anointed, or the Kohens, or the Geshons, or the Meraris. Okay, they have their specific things. The other Levites, the rest of them, they're just supposed to minister. They're supposed to just give a hand to their brethren. Which means their own tribe and things like that, and then amongst Israel. So their job, the rest of the Levite, is to minister on to the rest of the 12 tribes and things. They're supposed to be like a guide to, if they know somebody's doing wrong and things like that, they're supposed to tug them and be like, hey, you're not keeping it up according to the law, so you need to go to the priest and get that taken care of, or whatever you did. Okay, that's the job in the law for the rest of the Levites. Okay, so like I was speaking in the last video, this is why I was saying, like, you may have brethren out here who's looking out for you. They may be Levites and they're tugging you like, hey, you're not doing this wrong. But a lot of you have that prideful spirit on there where you just don't want to take correction, edification. Like, it doesn't say that in the law, or it does say that in the law. And that's the thing. I think our people get so sensitive to the point where you can't be taught nothing, or you can't be criticized about anything because it's so sensitive, so it's just like you need to put that aside and everything. Okay, so that's what the Torah says. Okay, so I didn't write this. Christ was upholding it too. All the rest of the prophets, chosen prophets, they were doing it as well. So anywho, let's get to the next law. Numbers chapters 15. And we'll start at verse 17 through 29, which is the next law.
Fifteenth chapter, right?
Yes, sir.
Numbers chapter 15, verse 17. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land whither I bring you, then it shall be that when you eat of the bread of the land, you shall offer up an heave offering unto the Lord. You shall offer up a cake of the first year of your dough for an heave offering, as you do the heave offering of the threshing floor. So shall you heave it.
So it's like, you're supposed to make, an offering, like a bread, like a meat, like a fresh dough, fresh bread offering to the Most High for allowing you to be here, to be in this land, to give thanks of what's going on, what's doing it. So you could still do that today, okay? And really, well, it says we're in the land that we go to give his name, he puts his name in and stuff, but the Most High puts his name in all of us, the ones that are, doing his law, statute, commandments, and keeping them and stuff. So, in essence, that's why when Christ says, he does the Father's prayer, our Abba who art in heaven, hallowed be his name. We say, Ahaya Shah, Ahaya, his kingdom come, his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Okay? So this is all the things that we give in thanks for. So it's another form of giving up a heave offering. But the thing is, we don't have, like I said, we don't have certain things to do these. But if you want to, you could do those. There's no problem that you can't do it. But why Christ or we have Torah, Old Testament and New Testament battling against each other about certain things in the law and things. Christ said to give up prayers onto the Abba, but he didn't say you didn't have to do not give up a heave offering. So if you go into the land where the Most High brings you and stuff, then it's okay. You can make cakes of your first year or the bread of your first year of your dough and give it up to the Most High. So there's no problem in doing that. Like when Most High willing, we come up out of this country, we go into another country and stuff, and we're safe there, and the Most High allows us to do these things, and sets up everything for us. I'm going to be doing that. So to others, I don't know. I mean, that's up to you guys, but according to what the law says, you should do that. Okay, but let's keep reading.
Verse 21. Of the first day of the first of your dough, you shall give unto the Lord an heave offering in your generations. And if you have erred and not observed all these commandments which the Lord hath spoken unto Moses, even all that the Lord hath commanded you by the hand of Moses, from the day that the Lord commanded Moses, and henceforward among your generations, then it shall be, if aught be committed by ignorance, without the knowledge of the congregation, that all the congregation shall offer one young bullock for a burnt offering, for a sweet savor unto the Lord, with his meat offering and his drink offering, according to the manner, and one kid of the goats for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for all the congregation of the children of Israel, and it shall be forgiven them, for it is ignorance. And they shall bring their offering, a sacrifice made by fire unto the Lord, and their sin offering before the Lord for their ignorance. And it shall be forgiven all the congregation of the children of Israel, and the strangers that sojourn among them, seeing all the people were in ignorance.
So right here where it says, let me go back to the beginning of it. It tells you whatever land the Most High brings you into. Okay, so give up that bread offering to the Most High. You don't need a priest to do that. Okay, what you do need a priest to do that, it tells you if you don't do it ignorantly and things like that, and on purpose and things, then you got to bring in the priest to give up a sin offering onto the Most High. So whatever land you go into, when you make some fresh bread or whatever the dough is of your first year of your stock and things like that, or your crops or whatever, to allow you to make the bread, get the flour and so forth and so on. Make that and burn it onto the Most High. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a sacrifice or anything like that. So you have the order and the law of what you should do if you're putting in to a new land where you move to, and you following the Most High law, statute, and commandments. So Christ never taught against that, but I was just saying for individuals who do, who didn't know that, they would be giving up prayers, but you were doing it, whatever, if you go into the land and you didn't know that law, okay? So that's why we have Christ now to sit here and forgive us for those things to the Father, because we didn't know. But now that you're reading this and you know these things, so when you go into a new land, you're supposed to do these things. You don't need a priest to do that. Whether you're Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Zebulun, Asher, Naphtali, Issachar, Ephraim, it doesn't matter. Give up that to the Most High. Okay? Let's get the next law.
We didn't finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Verse 27.
No, that was it. Verse 26. Yeah, that was
26?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you want to,
I thought you said 29. If we're going to go 26, that's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry, Elder. You're right. Sorry about that.
29. We got two more verses. Verse 27. And if any soul sin through ignorance, then he shall bring a she-goat of the first year for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for the soul that sinneth ignorantly, when he sinneth by ignorance before the Lord, to make an atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. Verse 29. Ye shall have one law for him that sinneth through ignorance, both for him that is born among the children of Israel, and for the stranger that sojourneth among them.
So one for Israel and one for the Gentiles.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's letting you know. So now that you know this, when you move to a new land, okay, take some bread, or, you know, make you up some brand new bread and things like that, according to that, and then burn that off to the Most High. Bake it, and then, you know, put it on the fire for a little altar or whatever. You know, now I'm not saying make the altars like what's in the tabernacle and things. It tells you back in Exodus that everybody resurrected up a certain altar and things. It didn't have to be by a priest. Okay, so Abraham did it, Isaac did it, Jacob did it, our forefathers did it. So it's okay. You don't need to have a priest for that type of altar when you set up just to give it up to the Most High. Okay, so that's letting you know right there. And then, like I said, you could go back and read it's Exodus 20. As a matter of fact, hold on 1 second. Let me go there. Exodus 20 and verse Slovakia. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Exodus 20 and verse 24. You just want to read that real quick, Albert.
Exodus 20, chapter 20, verse 24. Make of earth an altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy offerings, thy burnt offerings, and thy peace offerings, thy sheep, and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee.
In all places where I record my name. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 25. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Verse 26. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon.
So letting you know, so when you make a little altar, you can't put it on. You can't make steps onto it and things like that. So straight flat, hewn stone, it has to be in its original form. Mm-hmm. So when you get stones and you make up a little altar and things like that, this is for this offering that I'm speaking of here. Not sitting there putting lambs and things like that. We can't do that. It's only Aaron's son, the high priests and Aaron's sons, their generation, the priesthood can do that, okay? But once again, we don't have those things. We don't have those specific two altars that's in the tabernacle amongst Israel and things like that. Those were for those sacrifices and stuff. But you can make a regular stone altar to give that type of offering up where you don't need the priesthood to do those things, okay? So that's why I just wanted to bring on out to back up what we was just reading in Numbers 15, 17 through 19 about giving up the heave offering, okay? So let's get the next law, Numbers 19 and verse 1 through 10.
Numbers 19th chapter, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without spot wherein no blemish, and upon which never came yoke.
So this is talking about the water separation of made with the ashes of the red heifer. This is something that they're trying to do over in Israel today and things like that. And we know that they're not the real Jews. So I give them, I'll at least say they're trying to do what it says in the book, but they're not the real people. They shouldn't be doing that, period. They don't have no right to be doing those things. But anyways, this is going to go into why John the Baptist was baptizing, and that's why Christ said you should baptize and stuff, because this has the order to do with that. But that's the reason why, because John the Baptist was from the sons of Aaron. And when Christ was baptizing and stuff, the thing was, they couldn't do the specific things that's in here because, number one, even though John the Baptist was a priest, okay, he didn't have the specific things of the tabernacle to do these things. So in a sense, what he has to do to, cleanse people of so-called of their sins and so forth and so on, he had to baptize them in water, because all he was eating was honey and locusts. So there's another, and it goes into certain vows as well, as almost as the Nazarite vow and things like that, because he wasn't eating or drinking anything else. Okay. So this is going into the whole fact of what baptism is, but we'll do that for another lesson. But I'm just giving a little pinch of understanding of what this means. So when you read that in the New Testament, then you can understand, because I'll pinpoint all these back in Leviticus of all the purifications of the body and things like that, and of course of the spirit. Okay, but go ahead.
Verse 3, and ye shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, that he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face. And Eleazar the priest shall take of her blood with his finger, and sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times.
So Jubilee, a completion. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 5, and one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin and her flesh and her blood with her dung shall he burn. And the priest shall take the cedar wood and the hyssop and scarlet, and cast it unto the midst of the burning of the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in water, and afterward he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until the evening. Verse 8, and he that burneth her shall wash his clothes in the water, and bathe his flesh in the water, and shall be unclean until the evening. And the man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and lay them up without the camp in a clean place, and it shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel for a water of separation. It is a purification for sin. And he that gathereth the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the evening. And it shall be unto the children of Israel, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among them, for a statute forever.
So once again, the word stranger is sojourner is H1616 in Hebrew, speaking of Gentiles. Okay. So it's letting you know this is like purification and stuff. This is cleansing. Okay. And that's talking about for the whole congregation, meaning the whole children of Israel, and for the other nation, or the Gentile that sojourns amongst you.
Right.
Dang, the weird. Blew my page. Okay. Let's get the next law, which is Numbers 19 still, and 11 through 22. So now, when it speaks on the dead bodies, now we read that before, and he was like, "Whoa, man, you're saying repeats." No, this goes in depth of what happens whenever you touch a dead body. Okay, there's in-depth little things in here in Numbers that it didn't explain back in Leviticus. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this.
Numbers the 19th chapter, verse 11 through 22. He that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whosoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord. And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean, and his uncleanness is yet upon him. This is the law when a man dieth in a tent. All that come up into that tent, all that come into the tent, and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. And every open vessel which hath no covering bound upon it is unclean. And whosoever touches one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days.
So even of the grave, you go in there touching the graves when you walking through the cemetery to go give respect on to your lost ones and stuff, you touching that, you unclean. Okay? So these are things you guys got to really pay attention to. I remember when my grandmother passed away, I walked in the house, and she died in her house, so I didn't even know this law. You know what I'm saying? So even tell you, it says tent, but today our tents is houses, apartments, and things like that. You're going to be unclean for 7 days. On the third day, you got to cleanse yourself and things, which gives you back in Leviticus, where it tells you about cleansing yourself about when you touch a dead body and things. Okay, but let's continue.
Verse 17. For an unclean person, they shall take of the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin, and running water shall be put thereto into the vessel, and a clean person shall take hyssop, and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it upon the tent, and upon all the vessels, and upon the persons that were there, and upon him that touches a bone, or one slain, or one dead, or a grave.
So you're supposed to get hyssop and water, and to sprinkle on you and put on you to cleanse yourself. Okay, so just letting you know that's the third day of the cleansing, and then on the seventh you shall be unclean. You should be clean. Okay, go ahead.
And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean one on the third day, and on the seventh day. And on the seventh day he shall purify himself, and wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and shall be clean at even. But the man that shall be unclean, and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he has defiled the sanctuary of the Lord, and the water of the separation hath not been sprinkled upon him. He is unclean, and it shall be a perpetual statute unto them, that he that sprinkleth the water of the separation shall wash his clothes, and he that toucheth the water of separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and the soul that touches it shall be unclean until even. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so a lot of us, even now, just thinking about it, I need to go buy some hyssop and things like that, and literally, even though this happened back in 2014, I never knew that. You know what I'm saying? So, in a sense, I'm still unclean. I need to buy some hyssop and do the water and everything. And on the third day, do that as washing up, wash my clothes in it as well, all my clothes and stuff. And then on the seventh day, on the Shabbat, do the same thing again. So honestly, that's what we all should be doing. And a lot of us, we've been touched, dead bodies, or been around that, or whatever the case may be, and that's another thing. Well, it's like, well, brother, this place is all defiled. You're right. Every place we probably walked, somebody and died, so just to show and prove, what I'm saying? It's like, maybe you should just do that still, just to show, well, not maybe, you should, according, to the law, even though everywhere we walk, there's plenty of businesses everywhere, people and died and things like that, but we don't know 100%. But at least for the things that we do know in the past that we have touched or been around, we should do this. So count 3 days. Hyssop and water, wash yourself, wash your clothes with it and things. 7th day, hyssop, water, wash yourself, wash your clothes, and then you should be clean. All this other stuff that we don't have understanding that these places where people had died in, we don't know those things. But at least we could come back and do what we did for who we know that passed away, especially our family members and things like that. So at least we're showing and prove that, hey, but we're trying to, do this, okay? So we are in a defiled land and stuff, but still, you should do this, okay? Let's get the next law here. Numbers chapters 27 and verse 1 through 11.
Numbers chapter 27, verse 1 through 11. Then came the daughter of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Mashur, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and even the names of his daughter, Mahlah, Noah, and Haglah, and Michael, and Tisra. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar, the priest, and before the princesses and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin and had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he had no son? Give unto us therefore a possession among the brethren of our father. And Moses brought forth their cause before the Lord. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad, speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them.
So right here, it's letting you know. Now, some will say, well, where's the brothers of the dad to, carry on his name and things like that? They're supposed to give seed onto his wife and things like that if he passed away having no sons and things. Well, this isn't the issue. This time he only had daughters and things, and obviously amongst the brethren of his father, the ones that murmured against Moses and against the Most High, those are the ones that died in the wilderness and stuff. But it wasn't amongst him and things like that. But anyways, it's telling you that since he had daughters, this is a law for the inheritance, because all Israel had their own lands and things. Okay, so the inheritance would pass on to the daughters, just in case. So this is a law, not just because it's Manasseh and things. No, it's speaking of anybody. Okay, so if you got daughters and things, no sons, and you was to pass on, and you had land and in Israel and stuff, the inheritance would go to the daughters. That's why the Most High said the daughters speak right. Mm-hmm. Okay, but go ahead, Elder.
Verse 8: And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no son, then he shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he had no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren.
So amongst his own tribe or his own people and things, his next of kin. Go ahead.
If he have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. And if his father have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it, and it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgments, as the Lord commanded Moses.
So that's it on that. So that's just giving the law of inheritance for a daughters, for a man who only has daughters and things. Mm-hmm. They could give it on to the girls. Okay. let's get the next law, which is Numbers chapter 30 and verse 1 through 16. I like this one. I like them all. I'm just saying this one really digs in on a lot of people today.
Okay. Numbers, the 30th chapter, verse 1 through verse 16. And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth.
Okay, so that's why Christ said, don't you dare swear by the Most High or by heaven and things like that, because he knew at that time cats could not keep their word. They cannot keep their vows and things, and that can lead you into damnation. Seriously, this is not something you don't play around with. Okay, so and that's why a lot of people. That's why it goes back into Exodus 20, where it speaks on the commandment when thou take the Most High's name in vain and stuff. You taking the Most High's name in vain, meaning you're making his name without worth, without value. You're saying, oh, I swear by such and such, and you line up a storm. Or people who are unlearned today because they're not being taught the laws and stuff, presumptuously sins against the Most High, Christ and the Holy Spirit, and against their own brethren because they're not reading the laws themselves. So you be taking, man, the Most High never allowed a man to do this or allowed a woman to do that. And oh, man, dude, you lying on the Most High. And y'all say his name too. Whether some say Yahuwah, Yahweh, Ahia, the Most High, El, Abba. You guys be lying big time, and you don't realize what you be doing. And some of y'all do realize, and you just do it anyways because you're prideful and trying to hide, the lies that you said and things like that. So. But anyways, let's continue.
Verse 3. If a woman also vow a vow unto the Lord, and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hear her vow, and her bond wherewith she had bound her soul, and her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vow shall stand, and every bond wherewith she had bound her soul shall stand. And if her father disallow in her day, and if her father disallow her in that day that he heareth not any of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she had bound her soul, shall stand, and the Lord shall forgive her because her father disallowed her.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to expound on that?
Yeah, it's even in the New Testament, it talks about, parents don't suffer your children the wrath and things like that. And there was an example back in when Jacob was dealing with Rachel and Leah's dad. Forgot his name. Anyways, they made a thing. They made a pact. He wanted to work for Rachel. 7 years, okay, so he'll get Rachel, but he tricked him and went back on his word and gave him Leah. So he still wanted Rachel, so he worked another 7 years, got Rachel and stuff. But then he even added another 7. What was it? Not 7. No, 6 years. So 20 years. Jacob stayed there because the man kept breaking his vows. Kept breaking his word and things like that he was making. Because Jacob was bringing so many blessings onto, the area and things, and his father-in-law. So his father-in-law came in because when they finally was like, okay, we're going to leave and stuff, and he worked another 6 years for the best of the cattle, best of the flocks. So Jacob took all the ones that didn't have spots and blemish and things like that, and then brought that in, and then they took off, and I think it was Rachel who took her dad's idol and stuff, okay? And hit it and stuff. So he came storming and went all through Jacob's tent and things. So he was pissed. Jacob was like, yo, this is some bull. And he was like, you did this and you did this. And then the father tried to say, well, they are my daughters and my this and my that. No, that's not. That man worked off and things. He gave a vow to you, said this is what I was going to do and things. So that law was created back then dealing with that, and then also with the Most High. But this is speaking on things with the Most High. That's why it says, like, some parents, what they like to do is they'll try to make you do stuff against the Most High. Like, we say, honor thy father and thy mother, and that's what we doing. But if they're making you try to do things that's against the Most High and to break his laws purposely, and they know what they're doing, then you can't do that. Okay? So you be forgiven, as it says, for that vow. Okay? Because our vow right now, like, you get baptized and you doing this walk, you already made a vow to the Most High. And for us, we say through Yeshaya and the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kodesh or the Walk Kodesh Ruach, however you pronounce it and things. So we're living in a vow now because we want to get our name written in the book of life. So we can't break our vows. So all these things that we're learning, everything we read, you know, here in this, it's a vow. We're taking this vow to do these things, okay? So we can't go back on this. Otherwise, you go back on it, it's a done one. But anyways, let's keep reading.
Verse 6. And if she had an all-in husband, when she vowed or uttered aught out of her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, her husband heard it, and held his peace at her in the day that he heard it, then her vows shall stand, and the bonds wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband disallowed her on that day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect, and the Lord shall forgive her. But every vow of a widow and of her that is divorced, wherewith they have bound their soul, shall stand against her. And if she vowed in her husband's house, or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her, and disallowed her not, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband had utterly made them void on the day he heard them, then whatsoever proceeded out of her lips concerning her vows, or concerning the bond of her soul, shall not stand. Her husband has made them void, and the Lord shall forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to affect the soul, her husband may establish it, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband altogether hold his peace at her from day to day, then he establish all her vows, or all her bonds, which are upon her. He confirmeth them, because he held his peace at her in the day that he heard them. But if he shall in any ways make them void after he hath heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes of the Lord these are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, between the father and his daughters, being yet in her youth in her father's house.
So, and another thing, Israel is married on to the Most High. Okay, that's where I was going at with the whole vow things. Yo, we are we are married on to the Most High. So amongst all the souls, you know, we have to keep this vow with the husband, which is the Most High, because if we break those, well, 2/3 of Israel has a big divorce paper coming, okay? And from doing that, that's going to be cut off. But that's the reason why it's talking about certain things where if you messed up ignorantly, you didn't know, and things like that. That's why the Most High said he winks at your ignorance, because you didn't know. So he wouldn't cut you off completely or just mark you up 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, 2/3. You know what I'm saying? No. So these are why this is every time that we pick up this book, every time we pray unto the Most High, every time we start doing his work and things, you are upholding a vow. And if you don't do these things, he's gonna come back and ask for a collection. You know, you're gonna have to owe up to it. And if you can't owe up to it and stuff, you're done. And that's what comes to judgment and things. So that's why it's important to be doing these things, because all the walks you making, this is a vow you making onto the Most High. So, anyways, let's get the next law. Numbers chapter 35 and verse 16 through 21.
Sixteen 16 through 31?
21.
Through 21.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers, 35th chapter, verse 16 through verse 21. Verse 16, and if he smite him with an instrument of rod so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Now, some say, well, this speaks of in the commandments. You know, this is a repeat, but this is going in depth of what happens if you murder somebody. Okay, it tells you all the things that happens, whatever you use, whatever you did to murder somebody, it just goes in depth. Okay, so it's letting you know. So when it says thou shalt not kill, it's not kill, it's murder. Okay, because then it contradicts the fact that Joshua and them all went to war against all the other nations out there to clean them up out of Israel and things, or in the land of Canaan, is what you would call it. But let's continue.
Verse 17, and if he smite him with throwing a stone wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
So you throw a stone at somebody, you kill them, put to death. Go ahead.
Verse 18, or if he smite him with an hand weapon of wood wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he thrusts him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying of weight that he die, or in enmity smite him with his hand that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meeteth him.
Okay, so a lot of times amongst our people, because our people be killing each other and things like that, so they become murderers. And then you have the chain effect. The family members want to go after and find him and shoot him up, or whatever the case may be, to kill him. Then they want to come back and retaliate, and then to do this, and to do that, and to do it, you know, non-stop, you know. And we thank for the so-called government for doing, or I should say the elites out here, for creating that system that tries to do another way of killing us off and things. Okay, so anyways, we don't do that now. Okay, the Most High is the avenger, you know. So whether he picks somebody out the blue or have some, you know, may say not even natural cause, you know, the guy that murdered, or the woman that murdered a family member or something, the Most High has his ways of getting them and things like that. So never know, they may be driving and the next thing you know it, their car just blows up, or get into a bad accident, or whatever the case may be, maybe swimming in the ocean or something, and sharks come up and eat the person and things, thinking 6-7 years down the line they all free, nobody knows who did it and stuff. You know, the Most High will get them individuals, so don't worry about that stuff. And then two, you shouldn't even be tangled into situations that could get you put into that. You know, that's why you should stay always, you know, meekness and humble. Not saying that you should walk around soft and things like that amongst our people. We know this stuff and things, but you got to use your brain. You got to use your head and things, okay? You got to deal with wisdom and things. So that's what it's letting you know. But let's get the next law, verse 22 through 25.
Numbers, 35th chapter, verse 21.
No, 22.
Verse 22 through 25. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, or with any stone, wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought he his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. Verse 25. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, And the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whether he was fled, that he shall abide in it until the death of his high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil. That's 25.
Oh, I'm sorry.
22 through 25.
So it's basically saying somebody who they didn't do it on purpose. Like they didn't kill, like it tells you back in Exodus. Like let's say that somebody was chopping wood or something, right? And it was just chopping it really hard and stuff. And the handle of the axe goes flying, and I mean it's a force to the point where it hits the person in their head or whatever the case may be on their body, and it hits it does like a fatal wound and stuff. That was not on purpose. Right. Okay, it was an accident, and that's why a lot of things that's happening today, the system here is messed up. They can't even really judge accordingly and things like that. So it's letting you know. So if you accidentally, the whole congregation will sit there, they'll judge righteously, and then they will put that person in another city until everything blows over, everything calms down. They found out, they knew, because the family would be enraged, and things like that. And the man or the woman who did it didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. Okay, so that's why they put them in other cities to separate people until, like it says, their high priest or that priest that was anointed will, pass off. Then they could come back or whatever the case may be. Okay, so that they wouldn't be in trouble, even with the Most High. They wouldn't be in trouble with the Most High. So, but if you're thinking wickedly and you come up with some things, okay, well, hey, they won't know I did it and stuff, and I'll make it look like it was an accident and things like that. Now you in trouble. Okay. Let's get the next law here. Numbers. Oh, I'm sorry. It was 20. Yeah, Numbers 20. Yeah, Numbers 35 and verse 26 through 20.
Number 35.
Wait a second.
We just did numbers 35, 22 through 25.
Yeah. 26 through 27. It's a real little short one there.
Okay. Numbers 35, chapter 35, verse 26 and 27. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whether he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the border of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood.
So like So even though that man was innocent and it was an accident and stuff, if that whatever the family member or that revenger catches you and he puts you to death, he's free from that. Okay, that's why it's telling you to be in a whole nother city and stuff. So because somebody is hunting you down, that's how wrath and enrage. And we see this through in America. We see that through all the hood movies that they put out there. You kill like Boys in the Hood. Ricky! Pow! You know what I'm saying? Kill him. Now, Doughboy and, everybody else wanted to get back at these cats. So what they did, they found out where they were, shot them up, then they was good. Then next thing you know, it shows a scene in the end that, Doughboy was walking away, pouring out his 40 or whatever, and then it just faded off and so Ice Cube. Then it says that 2 weeks later he was shot because of the Avengers of who they shot. You see how it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But that system here, that's how it was set up, okay, for our people to cancel each other off. So I mean, there's so many movies, hood movies, that they done that. They done it with, not just hood movies. They done it with the mafia movies and so forth and so on and things like that. But this is how, this is what happened. So, back in the day, if that was to happen, you had to be in another city, right, until everything would cool off. Okay. So, anywho, let's get the last law here, and then that'll be it for today. Numbers chapters 36 and verse 6 through 13. And then that'll be it for the book of Numbers of the laws. and then we'll go into Deuteronomy. Numbers chapter 36 and verse 6 through 13 is the next law.
Numbers chapter 36, verse 6. This is the thing which the Lord doth command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry to whom they think best, only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe. For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter that possesses inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man their inheritance of his fathers. Neither shall the inheritance remove from one tribe to another tribe, but every one of the tribes of his children of Israel shall keep himself to his own inheritance, even as the Lord commanded Moses. So did the daughters of Zelophehad.
Yeah.
For Mahlah, Tisra, and Haglah, and Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married unto their father's brothers' sons. And they were married unto the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of the family of their father. These are the commandments and judgments which the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses unto the children of Israel, and the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho.
Now, mind you, it's not talking about incest. So this whole law was about, now this is a doctrine that they created out here too. Israel should be marrying their own tribes. Okay? So the question is, how do you know which tribe you're from and things like that? And you didn't have no signet, no verification of your father's passed all the way down to where you're at today to show and prove you're from your father's house and the tribe. So today we're not in our own land. So as an inheritance and things, how do you know who you're going to marry and stuff? How do you know what tribe they are? You know? So I've seen that some people created a doctrine saying, well, you should be with somebody who looks like you. Like, really? You know, we ain't even in our own land, so what inheritance of the land do we have? You know what I'm saying? The Most High is going to sort all that stuff out. Most High willing, we make it into the kingdom and things like that. And then the lands that would be, you know, all through from the Nile River all the way to the rivers Euphrates, that would be divided amongst all of Israel again. Okay? So with that being said, you can marry amongst other tribes and things, okay? So it's just speaking of here for the inheritance and stuff because they had lands. We don't have lands right now. We're in captivity. Okay? So, you know, but anyways, but those are, like I said, made up doctrines that's amongst Israel today and stuff. So cut it out. Learn these laws, you know, and stick with it. All right? So, I mean, so let's say the whole tribe of Judah was all taken out. All the women of Judah was taken out. So what, man? Me being last man of Judah or Levite, I shouldn't go out and go marry a Zebulite or an Ephraimite or Issacharite or a Simeonite. You know, so all of Judah should just be put to death then, right? You know, we should just die out. Like, come on, man. So anyways, then I'll be breaking the other law when the Most High commanded us saying, be fruitful and multiply. So anyways, all right, so that's it for today. We will start off in Deuteronomy for the next laws and everything. So that's the end of Numbers and the laws that's written in Numbers and things. And we'll get into Deuteronomy, and then after Deuteronomy is done, then I guess I'll start going through the so-called meat lessons and things. So we'll have stuff. And then I had older videos that I've done. I never put them out and things, so they will be coming on out and stuff. So we'll be getting into that and everything. So I hope you guys got some more knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and according to the Most High, and that we could get more and it helps you with your walk and with your everyday life-to-life issues and things when you are going through your trials and tribulations and things. Okay, so much love to y'all, Yesha Allah, and to the world who, other nations that are following the Most High, correctly, do recognize who his children is, who's the apple of his eyes, so much love and things, and I just hope y'all have a blessed rest of the day and things. So I'm Brother Ezekiel,
Brother Chris,
and we'll build with you next time. Shalom.
Shalom.